precisely enough, and we don't think that you made it clear that there were congressional findings that a partial birth abortion is never necessary to save the life of the mother. So we went back to work, reached into our toolkit, we defined it precisely, and we concluded with congressional finding it was never necessary to do such a thing to save the life of the mother. And finally we went out, as you heard Rick Santorum say. So I've been pretty deep into this. And I've seen some videos and a lot of pictures and listened to a lot of testimony. And I remember an abortionist who found Christ and came and testified to us about the tools he used. And I will tell you that testimony was very moving. And it was ghastly, and it was ghoulish, and it was gruesome. And it was very moving. But it didn't move me like it did when I saw the third of the videos that we've had roll out now from Planned Parenthood. That, when I said what happens in my stomach, I felt my stomach knot up. I felt my heart start to pound in my chest. And what I thought was, this is the feeling I had when I first stepped up to a casket with a loved one in it. That feeling of foreboding, that feeling of dread, that feeling of this is profound, and it's life and it's death. That's what I felt when I saw that third video. And so now when I hear people say, we can't defund Planned Parenthood, it's too complex, it may be impossible. I'm talking about some people in leadership in the United States Congress. I say to them, nuts. Well, that's what General McCall said of Bastogne, wasn't it? When the Nazis said surrender, nuts. And by the way, I just think of this in my pocket, maybe I can find it. I have in there a little nut. And I just won't dig it out. You know what an acorn looks like. I carry it in my pocket every day.
Buckeye.
And, well, that's not a buckeye, but it is an acorn. And if you remember what acorn, I brought the first amendment to cut off all funding to acorn probably 2 years before we saw the videos on what was going on inside of acorn. They were subverting our electoral process, they were promoting prostitution, it goes on and on. But we defunded acorn. And because we saw what went on inside. Because we saw the videos from Hannah and James. Because it revolted us as a nation, and it was a movement across the country, and Democrats and Republicans voted to shut off all the funding to acorn and all their affiliates. And we have held our ground on that ever since. So if anybody tells you it's impossible to defund Planned Parenthood, tell them, quoting General McCullough, nuts, and a particular nut is acorn. That's the model we follow. Now I'll make another point. I said ghastly and ghoulish and gruesome. The idea of crushing the lower extremities of a baby and pulling that baby apart and out, but saving the valuable organs and marketing those organs, for this nation to allow that to happen and go on with that after we've seen what's taken place in these videos. Think of this. Several years ago it hit the news that the Chinese would bring capital charges against someone in China that would be facing the death penalty. They would go through what they call their due process, convict the individual, sentence them to death, and harvest their organs on the way to their execution. We thought that was ghastly and ghoulish and gruesome and appalling, and no civilized nation would do such a thing as harvest the organs of someone who is sentenced to death under a due process. And we had a sanctimonious attitude about China. What do they think of us today? To see what Planned Parenthood is doing and what so far we have tolerated, and when I hear that we can't, and instead I say this, we must cut off all funding to Planned Parenthood. And you know, I will hold my ground. And I want to give you another little piece of hope here. This is Iowa. We're standing with the Capitol in the background. We set a standard for the nation. We're first of the nation caucus. We have 17 Republican presidential candidates coming through this state, and 4 or so Democrats coming through this state. You can press every one of them for a public statement on where they stand. And every one of them ought to stand up with us today as Rick Santorum stood up with us today. And I remind us here in Iowa too, don't think this can't be done here completely. And when the government says you can't cut off funding to Planned Parenthood because it violates a law, what is this, the Obama administration is saying that? They're lecturing us about violating the law or the Constitution? What kind of audacity is coming out of the Obama administration? And when they worry, well, how are we going to argue this in court? Why would Planned Parenthood ever go to court to say, we demand that you pay us because we didn't do anything wrong? The evidence is there. I believe, from what I've seen, they've violated federal law. It's against the law to trade in body parts. I believe they violated it. If somebody comes in and robs a bank and they're on your payroll, you don't have to keep them on the payroll until they're convicted, do you? Especially if you've seen the video evidence. And we don't have to pay anybody we choose not to. So here are the states. Here are the states that have already decided to block funding to Planned Parenthood. Arkansas, just recently, Asa Hutchinson, edict from the governor. Louisiana, you heard from Bobby Jindal, I think, on that topic. 4 years ago, 2011, Scott Walker signed the legislation in Wisconsin. I believe I've heard Rick Perry say this, but I know it's true of Texas. No funding for Planned Parenthood there. Add to that, Alabama. Those folks that are first in the nation, primary, New Hampshire. No funding for Planned Parenthood. The Granite Staters, Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, and Ohio. Let's add